So I'm sitting here with the Freemans this morning. They're the winners of the 2012 California Friendly Garden Contest. And we're going to be talking about their garden and some of the inspiration for that garden. And I just wanted to ask you, what inspired you to go from kind of the typical turf landscape to this much more progressive style of landscape?
Well, first of all, I was tired of mowing, so that was part of the impetus, but we had always thought about redesigning our front yard and going to more of a more native look and eliminating the lawn and the irrigation requirements. It's a lot easier to take care of. It's prettier looking, certainly, and we get a lot of compliments from neighbors and friends.
We're really happy with what happened in the transformation of our yard from a lawn to plants. We really like it.
Well, during the construction, all the neighbors came by and watched the progress, and many of them now have chosen to redo their yards. In fact, even today, several of the people are going to be looking at redoing, taking out their lawns and replacing with the more California friendly.
So we're now out in the garden, and I'm here with the talented Sarah Robinson of the Plant Nerd Inc. And we're going to take a look at some of the different portions of this garden that make it California friendly. And Sarah's going to give us a little tour.
Well, where we went with this area is I wanted to make sure that we had enough architectural interest to balance out kind of the softer foliage textures of the epilobium and the chamaejoides, salvia. So we used some phormiums and we used a yucca, and those have the really good clean lines, the architecture.
Well, I'm really impressed with this epilobium. For one, the color on it's fantastic. When we first walked up to the property, there were 2 hummingbirds in here getting a little nectar, and I know they're highly drought tolerant. So another plant I couldn't help but notice is this Salvia clevelandii hybrid. I believe this is Winifred Yeoman. And for one, it just smells fantastic. I can see it's covered in the bees, and it's a California native, so it's doing a lot, really adding a lot to this garden. So Sarah, how are you managing the water in this garden?
Well, water management was a really important issue when we started. We want to limit the amount of water that runs off into the street, so we took special notice to use all the water we can here to hydrate back into the soil. We tapped into one of the gutters and we actually turned it so that it will percolate into this dry creek bed, and not only does it hydrate the soil for the garden itself, but it just goes back into the aquifer and helps rehydrate. It also limits the amount of water that goes into the storm drains and back into our ocean.
So Sarah, tell me a little bit about the irrigation and the surface mulching that was done in this garden.
Okay, we used all drip irrigation, and that helps to minimize evaporation and overspray. So if you want a low water garden, drip irrigation is definitely the way to go. What we do is we have these drip lines, these netafim hoses, and they're just under the surface mulch here. So if you pull back the mulch, you can see here's the drip lines, and they go to each plant. So each plant receives just the right amount of moisture. The creek bed is a really important part of the garden. We built it so that the water would run off into the creek bed instead of running off into the street. So it's a low point in the garden. We also curved it in a way so that it's meandering through the garden, through the courtyard, then out through this front area, and the water from the roof is channeled into the creek bed. So we're slowing the water and increasing the surface area for the water to percolate back into the soil. And when it gets down to this low spot at the end, it actually goes through a grate into a sump underground where we can collect the water and just allow the earth to let the water soak back in naturally instead of going into the storm drain.
So I just wanted to thank you for hosting us this morning. I want to congratulate you again on being the winners of the 2012 California Friendly Garden Contest. This is the 6th year we've done this. And you've just been an inspiration to your neighborhood and hopefully an inspiration to gardeners everywhere. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.